Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of John McEntyre Money Show Live. I'm John McEntyre. Hope everyone had a good weekend. It was beautiful weather in this area, so we enjoyed it. Celebrated Bella's birthday. Her birthday was Thursday, 18th, Friday, the 18th. Well, it was the 18th. So we had to wait till the weekend to celebrate. So we had some beautiful weather. And I hope that everyone enjoyed their weekend. And so today's show, I'm going to cover some real estate. I get the question a lot, why don't I do more real estate topics? Um, I don't really know because I talked about real estate so much early in my career. I guess I kind of, I don't know, but not going to use that as an excuse. So we're going to start implementing more real estate shows into it. But I did talk about condominiums and townhouses here recently. Yeah, I did talk about it. So I did do some, but I understand. It seems it's the real estate and Medicare type questions we get the most talking about Medicare healthcare. But today we'll be talking about being a first time real estate investor. And you know the routine. Before we get into that, let's share some of these wallet wins we've received. Wallet win number one, I paid off my last credit card using the debt avalanche. So yes, that is a wallet win. Paying off those credit cards, one of the best ways to give yourself a boost in your investments. Paying off those high interest rated credit cards and especially using the debt avalanche, where that's the one paying the highest interest rate first. To put all your cards and debts on a list, and whichever has the highest uh, interest rate, that's the one you pay off first. Some people they know that the math's at a much higher level. Um, some people use debt snowball, where they take the smallest debt, pay it off, and then just go that way. Both of them work. Whichever one you choose to do, that's the one that will work for you. So, wallet win number two, I completed my 6 month of savings. Yep, it's a huge wallet win. 6 months of savings. Um, I guess that's in the emergency fund. So yeah, that is a big time wallet win. That takes a lot of discipline, and you get up to 6 months. That's cutting into actual sacrifice. Also, people start to sacrifice when they, get past that third month. They're actually sacrificing. They've gotten serious about this money game, and they've gone into a high level, and they're planning to win it. And so that is a good one. Wallet win number three. Um, had a garage sale over the weekend, and I put the money in my Christmas fund. Oh yeah, yeah, that is a wallet win there. Anytime you're gonna put it towards that Christmas, yeah, because that's one of the big spending times of the year. So it can take eat up a lot of money, um, and especially people that put it on credit cards, and it feels good during Christmas, and then after Christmas, half of the stuff is not being used, or it's already in the garbage or whatever, and now you're having to pay interest on it. Yeah, that can hurt. So yeah, but three good wallet wins there. Paid off my last credit card, completed 6 months of savings, and used the proceeds of a garage sale for the Christmas fund. Three big wallet wins. All right, let's get into this. Our topic for this week is rules. Like I say, I mean, couple of decades now, people have been asking, how do I get started as a real estate investor? And so, um, early in my career, uh, I worked with a lot of investors. Uh, Early when I was young, I mean, like elementary school, my brother, he was getting involved in real estate investing, buying properties in the Asheville, North Carolina. And I was, that's my big brother. So one of my big brothers. And so I would go up to Asheville every weekend and hang out with him. He was starting to buy properties. And I was always dumb enough to go under the houses. So, and now that I think back to it, you couldn't pay me $1 million to go under a house in Asheville now. And I'm like, I don't know why. I mean, it was just because he was like, hey, go up under there and get the stuff and pull it out, throw it out. And I would just do it. I was listening to my big brother, and he taught me a lot about real estate investing. And as I get into these, I'm going to use the stories to give these pointers that I've learned, and then working with some extremely wealthy real estate investors. Uh, I've met some people that play at a very high level, like downtown Charlotte, commercial wise, things like that. And so they started very small. One house, some worked up. A couple of thousand houses, flipped it over into commercial property, things like that. So I'm just played Monopoly, bought everything, and now they're in hotels and things like this. And so it's a serious game. My opinion, real estate is a better hedge against inflation than most people say silver and gold, things like that, the precious metals. Me personally, I think real estate's a better hedge, uh, mainly because it doesn't do the up and down that the precious metals do. Real estate, if real estate's doing bad, the economy is probably doing bad. I mean, I put it that way. From what the numbers have shown, that's just the way it works. But for the new real estate investor, I'm going to use one of the old terms that I will call in being. Oh, so you're a newbie. So for the newbie real estate investors, here's some tips to follow. First one is to realize that real estate, yes, you are investing. My philosophy is you are a born investor. No matter what you put your money, wherever you put your money, time, talents, you are investing because you're getting something in return for it. So that means you are a born investor. Real estate is called an investment, but I always tell people to look at real estate like a business. It is a business like any other. When you invest in a stock, for instance, you're buying part of a business. Uh, when you start your side hustle, it's a business. It's a small business. It's a side business. Real estate is no different, and each property is its own business. Every property. If you own one, if you own 100, if you own one, you own one small business. If you own 100, you own 100 small businesses. Each one is a business, and that's the way it should be treated. That's first rule. First rule number one: real estate is a business, and each property is a business. Um, well, and let me expand on that, because you have to. It runs off the same business principles as any other business: sales, marketing, finance, accounting. So you have to have all of those in order. If you don't, if one of them is not in order, the property will fail. You have to have it. You have to think of it as that, being that way. And so buying a property, uh, most people don't think about it. Mainly because when most people are talking about real estate, they're talking about their personal property, and they always say, my property is worth, it's worth $1 million now. I bought it at this, and it's worth that. That matters in with real estate investments when you're buying property other than your primary house. Um, but that's not the way to build wealth and succeed in real estate. You have to be a cash flow investor, um, because your house, whether it appreciates or not, you're going to do your best to pay the mortgage. Real estate, if you invest for cash flow, whether it appreciates or not, it's going to pay you. Or at least at the minimum, it should pay for itself. You should not take anything out of your pocket to pay for a property. And some people, they do that, and they say, well, I'm doing it for, I get the tax write off, things like that. And I'm like, okay, if you really need the tax write off, that's fine. But that's not the way to play the game. The game, all of the successful real estate investors I know, even though some of their properties may not be cash flowing the way they want them to, they invest for the cash flow purposes. Um, because going back to rule number one, real estate is a business. If you have a business, or if you've talked to anyone for a business, who goes into business just for appreciation purposes? No one. If it's not making you any money, your business is failing, or it's a hobby. It's one of the two. It's either failing or it is a hobby. So I've yet to see, like I said, I've yet to see anyone. He said, "Yes, I want to start a business, and I want it to appreciate to this." No, I want to start a business, and I want it to make enough money for me to quit my job. Well, cash flow is what does that. Cash flow takes care of that. Pays the bills. This thing pays you, pays employees, pays the taxes, does everything. The cash flow is not the appreciation. Those are side benefits. And with real estate, some years they may be where the market is not doing so well. It can actually be, upside down. And when I mean upside down, it can actually mean that you bought the property at this and now it's just worth this. But if it's cash flowing, it really doesn't matter. It's still going to carry itself. And if it appreciates or not is cash flowing, and the market, we'll wait for the market to go back up and it appreciates and goes back into the positive of appreciation. But until then, it's taking care of itself. And that's what cash flow investing is all about. So with those two in mind, first thing you want to do if you're going to buy a property is put together a business plan. And in the beginning, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a thick business plan. It could be something on the pages. I want to own this many properties that cash flow this much, that gives me this much cash flow, net cash flow each month into my pocket, that would allow me to retire in 5 years. Something like that. Whatever the goal is, your goal is personal. But the business plan, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want the properties to do for me. That would dictate what type of properties you would buy, or how many properties you would have to buy, to take care of those types of things. So first thing is just to write down your goals, what it is you want it to do. Do you want it to replace all of your income? Do you want it to be, what my goal would be, is always been, is to replace all cash flow where it wouldn't have to work. Which the investors that I talk to, that's what their goal is. They keep working, but if something happens, they're fine. They're fine. They still have their cash flow. And so that's the number one thing, is to have a goal. Number two is develop a niche. Figure out a niche. Just like any successful business, when you're starting out, a small business, you always want to look for a niche. It could be a property type, condominiums, little small single family houses. Some people want to go into the luxury, buy the big luxury properties, things like that. Some people want to start, some investors start with duplexes, which is always the good one. That's the one. Small bread and butter properties, or those duplexes. They're like what they call cash cows. They work in any market. Luxury, not so much. Sometimes luxury, like I say, if you have your business plan in place, you have to market a luxury property differently than you would, the 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 first time home buyer, what I call first time home buyer niche in that area. If something happened with the property, it could always be sold just like that. There's always a market for buying it and renting it. It's where you can, if you buy it right, you can always stay below market with your rent rates, and it will always have tenants waiting. So it could be a property type. It can be, you can say, well, I'm going to serve the senior market. I'm going to serve 60-year-old plus, 60-year-old retirees. And it depends on where you're living or whatever. I want to serve that group because they're quiet. They're responsible. They take care of the place. Uh, Hopefully the children are adults and they're not living around. They're responsible. So, and I know people that are very successful in that market. Some they're niched out into the Section 8, for instance. Most people, when they buy a property, they want to put it on Section 8. Section 8 is a very niched segment of the market. It's it's very I want to use the word compliant, but there's a lot of rules you have to follow with Section 8. So if you're going to play that game, it's not a game to jump in and out of. You have to make the decision because that decides on some of the other pointers that I'm going to give. So you just have to decide what type of properties you're going to do. And the best way to choose a niche is wherever you are. Main thing is start in your backyard. Start in your where you live in your market where it's going to be close because you have a lot to learn. This is a small business. It's not going to build itself. It's not going to repair itself. It's not going to do any of those types of things. And if you're going to be a good investor, you need to learn. I know some people say, I'll just give it to a property management company. Well, if you don't know how to do any of this type of stuff, your growth is going to be very limited because you'll always be overpaying for things. Your margins, your profit margins will be very slim compared to the ones that bought their first few properties. I mean, I know it's he's probably, if not the largest landlord, easily one of, I know exactly, he's in the top 3 of the Charlotte market. This is before he brought in help, like management help. He was watching over 100 properties around Charlotte. He had his van and he did his plumbing, like minor stuff. If it got to be the big projects, plumbing, electrical, things like that, he had his team, but he rode around, he took care of them. And his next level of management was his kids. They got old enough, they went off to college, they learned, well, they was with him, then they went off to college, got their degrees, they came back and they took it to the next level. But until he got there, he was taking care of 100 properties by himself. Not by himself, but he was hands-on, put it that way. He was very hands-on with 100 properties. And his company is rolling big time in Charlotte. And it's like he's all over the United States now, because he has that kind of money. So, but his niche was, he said he stayed in the bread and butter. He was offered these big properties and he was like, he would pass them on to other investors. He knew other guys that wanted them. He was like, that was not my game. I stayed in the game that I can handle. I got used to that type of tenant. I knew exactly what they wanted, what would make them happy, and I ran it like a business. And that's what each one of them does in their niche. They know exactly what their tenant, their ideal tenant is. Today in marketing, we call it an avatar. They had their avatar. They knew how that particular tenant thought, everything. A very small percentage of those tenants would be outside of the avatar, but that was fine. Even if he didn't have them, he would be profitable. That investor would be profitable. So that's a big one with your niche. Decide what type of a niche. Just ride around and see what's working in the market, and sort of listen to what is in demand. You know, it might be Section 8. You might hear through the grapevine that Section 8 saying we are low on properties. We need more properties. We have a long waiting list of tenants with vouchers, and so you have your market there. Maybe a good way to start. Or you still have rural towns. I know a guy. Only thing he just has huge plots of land with double wide trailers on them, and he's doing fine. He's happy. He's I mean, he's up to like 95%, 5% vacancy rate, which is excellent in real estate. When you get to a high level, I mean, most of you're doing good. If you're, 10% vacant, he's keeping his at 5 and below. And that's because he's always working on them, but they're always someone ready to move into them. So that's something to have in mind of how to choose what to do as far as real estate investing. Next one is build your team. It's like any other business. You need in real estate, you need agents agents that would bring you deals, that would educate you. You have to find the right agents, and each one of these, I mean, we could talk for hours about this. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit, but you need agents, and let them know what you're looking for, and they'll bring it to you. Make sure and let them know you're serious, and be ready. And once they bring a property, let them know, hey, I'm new at this, and let them walk you through and say, hey, this is how many I plan to do, and you'll be my agent. So you keep that serious. You need lenders, because most people, they don't have the cash to just go and buy properties. Some people, when they get older and they just want a few properties, sure, they may have IRAs or things like that, and they take some of that money and buy properties, a few properties, just for diversification of their portfolio, for cash flow purposes. But usually younger, the ones starting out younger, they need lenders that understand that game of lending for real estate purposes, for real estate investing. Uh, you need private investors. There are a lot of private investors out there. That's their way of investing into real estate. They don't exactly want to own properties. They just like financing. I know a couple of those, couple of private money lenders, private investors, um, wealthy folks, very wealthy. They just hold paper. They just want the paper. You know, part 10-15% they invest, and they get their money out, and they go on to the next one, and they're happy. So the private investors. You need inspectors. You buy a property, it needs to pass inspection. You need an appraiser. You don't want to overpay for the property, and the lender's only going to lend so much on the property. Appraisers, they become very important, and you don't need to wait till you are applying for a loan when the bank sends the appraiser. You need your own appraiser, someone that you will pay yourself, because those appraisers are paid for the bank, and they work for the bank now. It used to be a time to where it wasn't like that, and I hate that it's like that. It's like one of my pet peeves of real estate. These banks, they send out these appraisers, and sometimes they don't know what they're doing, and a lot, the dissatisfaction like went up when that banks made that change, because some people were like, they sent these appraisers, they don't appraise in this market, and they have all of these things going on, and I was like, I really don't like how they're playing the game now. It's been like that for a while, but that doesn't make it good. Still, they've messed up the real estate. I think that that's the reason why some of the real estate got sort of iffy and not doing so well, because the banks were just bringing the wrong appraisers in. That's all that it was. So that's some of the people to bring in on your team. Then you need to build a network. A team is the group that's who you deal with. That's you assemble, who pretty much works for you. As you bring in deals and things like this, you keep them working. The next group outside of that is your network. These are city planners, zoning people, in the city inspectors or county inspectors, all of those. If you're in the county and you're on the well or whatever, you kind of want that. You want to be nice to those inspectors, because they can slow it down, or they can even break it. They can make or break the deal. The zoning people, you kind of want to start networking with these folks and other investors. You want to build a network of investors that you may run across a deal that, or a property that's doesn't exactly fit your business plan, and so that doesn't mean you can't make money from it. As a matter of fact, my first time actually making money in a real estate deal outside of with my brother was, I found a property, was going to buy it. Someone that I just met, it was in his area. He approached me, offered me the right amount of money, and the rest was history. And I learned a new way. I did not know it could be done that way. And he showed me on a real estate contract. And I mean, this was an old contract, so it's not in the new contract anymore. It was basically how to assign a property. And he was like, see right here, I'll give you this much for this. And he showed me that line, and he showed me the check, and I gave him the paper, and I walked away happy. And so, and that came from networking. And he was like, if you run across any of these types of properties, he said, here's what you do. Tie it up. I have a cousin who buys these types of properties. I have another friend buys this type of property. So don't let the numbers scare you. He said, it doesn't matter if you can't afford it or not. Get it tied up. I'll show you how to tie it up. Then we'll take it from there. And these were like serious money guys, I mean, they were like in their 70s and 80s. Yeah, they've been out there a long time. And so, I mean, they staggering around because they have so much money in their pockets and stuff. They couldn't even keep their pants up. This is the country boy in me talking now, but that's the way we were. But that's what you have to do with your network. You have to have that network. The next thing is you want to build your solid reputation. It's a business. You want to have a solid reputation. You get a reputation as having bad operating properties, always need work, always attracting troublesome people, police are always there, things like that. You get a bad rep as what they would call like a slumlord or an absentee landlord who doesn't care about their properties. Um, you won't be profitable for long because they start eating into your profit with fees and things like that. They start punishing you. You have to start paying fines and things because you're not paying the properties any attention, and so they start sending out those fines. And I've seen some investors lose good properties behind that. They were absentee. They wasn't taken care of. The city just took it, because they can do whatever they can do whatever they want to. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, they can do it, and they will do it. But you're a solid reputation. One of the best things for your reputation, you'll attract great tenants. That's one of the big things. You'll attract great tenants. You'll gain the respect of your team and your network and potential clients. You will always have a list of potential clients when you have a great reputation. And so that's just some of the tips I wanted to share. I wasn't expecting to go this long, but real estate is one of those things. Um, I talk, I try not to talk about it, but I always end up talking about it. So um, those are some of the things to really, really think about as a new investor. Just it's not something you jump into tomorrow. Ride around, look at properties, go to open houses, go to auctions, things like that. If you can find them, find out. Like for instance, in the Charlotte area, you have a real estate investors association. It's a couple of thousand members, and then in each area around Charlotte, they have like subgroups. So each market they have a group of investors, they meet at these smaller restaurants, things like that, early in the morning, odd times, and they share and they exchange and they let each other know and they network and stuff like that. And so that's where, you want to get to uh, if you're going to be successful in this. And so my question of the day to you is, are you planning to add real estate to your portfolio? And if you are, you can give me a call, contact me, and we'll talk about it. Put together overall plan to add some real estate to your portfolio or put you on that path to, becoming a real estate investor you choose to be. So I hope that helped. If it did, share, subscribe. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel. Good night.